this is gonna sound really ridiculous, but I'm just gonna call it out. Procrastinating is not the same as needing to take a break. Okay, just to be clear, in case there were any doubts, those two things are not the same thing. Welcome to the Productive Introvert Community Podcast, helping ambitious introverts who feel deep down that they can add more value to the world to really thrive in their work. I'm Mariela Franker, and I'll be sharing what I'm learning as an introverted entrepreneur, a natural productivity coach, and a mom while I build my business online and take care of my family and myself. In this podcast, you'll learn the mindset and the practical steps to naturally increase the impact of your work while making space for your unique strengths as an introvert. Hi, it's Mariela. I wanted to talk to you today about that fine line between resting and procrastinating. Or is it really a fine line? I think a lot of us experience it as a fine line, and I get this question quite regularly from people. Basically, the question is, when do you push yourself and when do you take your foot off the gas? Coffee. So I recently posted about my boss and that she used to be a real hard ass. That she used to be really, really, really tough on me. Would never let me take a break, always pushing to get more results, even if it meant, working yourself into the ground, literally. I once nodded off at a friend's birthday party that I went to after work, and I was literally sitting in a chair, falling asleep, and I woke up, and someone was looking at me saying, "Girl, you're on backup energy right now, aren't you?" So posting about my boss, who used to be this real hard ass, right? And then how she has actually changed into being a much more laid back, much more caring person. And of course, my boss is me. And the reason why I shared that on LinkedIn recently is because I have made all of the energy management mistakes, and would basically never really allow myself to properly recharge. I didn't really know what that meant. Sorry, I drifted. It's hilarious. This is what happens. Okay, so the reason I posted that it is because I am right now. I've taken a couple of days off, unplanned, and that comes back to that topic of that fine line between resting and procrastinating. So if you're like me, you probably have felt like you're procrastinating a lot of the time. You probably have a lot of different things going on at the same time. And there's always something to do, right? There's always something to do, especially introverted solopreneurs that I work with. Because, they're used to pushing themselves. There's a million things to do in your business, right? Always. There's never a moment that there aren't a million things to do. And then there's family, there's personal life, there's friends, there's resting can actually feel like you're procrastinating. And this is gonna sound really ridiculous, but I'm just gonna call it out. Procrastinating is not the same as needing to take a break. Okay, just to be clear, in case there were any doubts, those two things are not the same thing. I think the reason why we experience it as a fine line is often because we haven't learned to really distinguish between the two. We haven't learned how to recognize that difference, what it means for you personally. I can give you a personal example of mine. So I'm the type of person, when I work on something, I am fully engaged. Like I am like in it, and I can lose myself in it Like, if I had it my way, I could probably lose myself in a particular topic for days on end. And in the past, I would do that. I remember I really liked arts and crafts and sewing my own clothes. So I remember one weekend, I think it was, yes, because I was in college, so it had to have been a weekend. I said I'm gonna make this dress, and I started on Friday, and I think it was Monday morning, an hour before my next class, that I finished it. Everything was spread out on the bed because it was a small room. I didn't have a lot of space, so I had my pattern out on the bed. I slept on the small corner of the bed. I just ate on the floor. I don't even know if I showered, to be honest. Like this really obsession with that thing. These days, that doesn't happen anymore. Main reason is because we have a kid, and you can't throw yourself or immerse yourself in something for such an extended period of time when you have kids, especially if you have part of the caretaker role, right? Sometimes if you have a partnership where one person takes over more of that, then the other person is able to immerse themselves fully in their craft for a period of time. In our household, we try to give each other space for both of us to do it. In practice, that actually kind of means that nobody gets to do it. Sounds like a consolation prize. But for us, that works really, really well. What was I saying? So I'm in the middle of my kind of mental break, so to speak. Oh yes, I know what I was saying. And you can already see I'm not super sharp, right? And this is the main way that it shows up. That signal that can help you distinguish between when it's time for me to take a rest, or am I procrastinating for some reason. Often when we procrastinate, there's a particular reason why. There's something there's a barrier there that's holding us back from doing the thing. It could be either motivation, and we talked about motivation a little bit in one of the previous episodes, and I'll link to that in the description. It could be around context. Do you have all the information that you need to actually do the thing? It could be around opportunity. Like maybe you know exactly what you need to do, but the circumstances aren't such that you could actually take action on it. And then there's that other one around some kind of internal block, which is the one that is actually most frequently the one that holds us back. So in the realm of procrastination, it's usually around one of those things. And in my coaching programs, we uncover it. And in that process, a lot of these blocks often disappear, and the inner critic becomes calmer. And we're still able to make progress, even if it's with little steps. Now, around taking a break, that's a completely different thing. It often has to do with signals from your body, taking that very seriously, especially physical signals. And I think in the past, I was very dismissive of what my body was telling me. And I've since learned to take those signals very seriously. And I learned that the hard way because I burned out, constantly ignoring the physical signals that I was getting that my body needed to rest, and by extension, my mind. So the ways that this, for example, shows up for me personally is being very cloudy in my head, not being very clear, not feeling very articulate. And like, for example, I'm recording this episode when I'm in that cloudy state. So I already know I'm going to spend hours editing this because it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be kind of fuzzy. Yeah, it is what it is, right? So that's one of the first signals that I get. Oh, I'm a little fuzzy. I don't really know why or what I want to do. I don't know where I'm going. A hard time concentrating. I tend to scroll a lot more. I tend to be on YouTube for longer. I notice, it's been an hour, still on these shorts, huh? Those are signals telling me something's off. And then there comes a little bit of where you need to be a little bit brave to dare and think about that. Like, why am I making this choice? Because in the end, it's a choice. I'm choosing to be on YouTube Shorts for 3 hours straight. That's a choice. There are a lot of other things I could be doing in that time, but apparently I'm choosing that for some reason. What is that reason? And by just being honest about that, you don't have to share that with anyone per se if you don't feel comfortable doing that. But being honest about that in your own mind and dissecting that a little bit. Is there some kind of barrier? Am I feeling that I'm avoiding something? Or do I just feel like beat? Am I just depleted? And then just giving yourself permission to fully embrace that. You have more influence over how you move through your day than you think. We always think that the world is going to completely explode if we don't get to this email right away, if we don't reply to this message ASAP. People are going to completely hate us and everything like that. The business is going to fail. Doom scenarios pop up. In reality, nothing happens. Nothing. Nothing will happen. And if you mess up, you can always go back and try to correct that mistake. But the world will not explode, okay? Especially if you're, generally speaking, a caring and reliable person. People will be okay. You will be okay. And recognizing these kind of, what are they, like inflection points? I like to call them your sweet spots. So knowing where that tipping point is for you. Okay, so like now I know I need to take a break. Or okay, now I know I'm procrastinating on something. Let's figure out how to do the thing that I want to do and step over that hurdle. But when you're not aware of where your tipping point is, where your sweet spots are, you can just get stuck in the middle. Feel guilty around the choices that you make. When you know your sweet spots, you can make those choices guilt-free. Do I feel like I'm leaving people hanging by not replying to their messages? Yes, sometimes I do. But I know that if I take the day now, tomorrow, it may even take me until next week, but I will be ready to start running and I'll have all that done in an hour. Whereas if I would push myself to do it today, it would probably take me 3 hours and it would take me much longer to get out of this funk. So what are your sweet spots? What is the signal trying to tell you? And these are some of the things that we work on in my one-to-one coaching program, the Joyful and Impactful Introvert System. If you want more information about that system and about how this coaching program can impact your life right now, fill in the form in the description to apply and book your free call with me. I have spots open for 6. One spot got filled. So 6 introverted solopreneurs who I can support in discovering their sweet spots and create a habit plan that will allow you to be the best version of yourself without being held back by low energy. Thank you for hanging out again with me today. Let's talk again next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Productive Introvert Community Podcast. If you're an introverted entrepreneur and you're ready to thrive in your own way, then connect with me on thefrankermessage.com/contact.